In today's episode, I thought we could dive into the truth about living in Eagle, Idaho. Eagle is a great place to live, but if you've been watching social media, the YouTube videos, the Instagram reels, you would think it's basically perfect, and for many, it's close. But living in Eagle does come with some drawbacks, as any place does. My family and I, we live here, we work here, and we help people move here all the time. But there are some things about living in Eagle that no one really talks about till after you move here. So today, I'm giving you the full breakdown, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the things that generally surprise people once they're actually living here for day-to-day life. And stick around to the end because one of the reasons is exactly why some families leave Eagle within their first year. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Matthew and I help people relocate just like you to Eagle, Idaho and the whole Treasure Valley. This channel is all about living, moving, working, and playing in and around Eagle, Idaho. I do my best to post 2 new videos each week so you can learn all about the Treasure Valley and the surrounding area to see if it's the right fit for you and where in the Treasure Valley is the right fit for you. My wife is from San Diego area and we lived up in North Idaho for about 10 years before moving to Eagle, Idaho. So we know how hard it can be to take the leap and move to a new place, and our goal is to help you have a smooth move here and find that perfect neighborhood that fits you. So maybe it will be Eagle, or maybe after watching this you'll say, you know what, those are a lot of drawbacks of Eagle. Maybe it's Star, maybe it's even Coeur d'Alene, maybe it's summer in Texas. So hopefully this video gives you some insight so you can learn if Eagle is the right place. To start, let's talk about what people think Eagle is and their expectation versus reality of actually living in Eagle. So most people moving to Eagle thinking it's going to feel like this quiet, slow-paced dream town with tree-lined streets, perfect neighborhoods with no drama and amazing neighbors, no traffic at all, just no problems, right? It's this Idaho small town relaxed lifestyle coming more or less from a fairy tale. And honestly, there are chunks of that are true, but Eagle today is very different from Eagle 5 to 10 years ago. It's growing fast, and that growth changes the day-to-day life people experience and what they expect this town to be like. Just last week, one of our clients who moved into Dry Creek Ranch, she was telling us about how her neighbor was so mad that they put up a little rock wall for their garden to plant their beds in, and it was approved by the HOA, but this neighbor kept coming over and saying how bad it is, oh, this is poisonous, blah, blah, all these things about it, and it made them feel so bad they actually ended up taking down their little garden bed even though it was approved. So it is very unnecessary and something that would have never happened 10 years ago in my opinion. I did come down to the Boise area a lot for ODP soccer and we spent a lot of time down here, so I still knew the area very well even though we lived up in North Idaho. But there are more and more circles popping up in these neighborhoods, especially in these new construction master plan neighborhoods. There's more circles, cliques coming in, and that small town laid back lifestyle is changing as just more drama is coming into these places. More people are moving in, just bigger personalities and things like that are coming in, which is just causing more drama. The other big change that we're seeing is Eagle is not the hidden gem anymore. I remember talking to someone when I was a freshman at college and they were telling me they're from Eagle, Idaho. And I've heard of it, but a lot of the other people at the university have never heard of Eagle, Idaho. So now it's one of the most desirable places to live in the entire Treasure Valley and probably even Idaho. Now when you say, oh, we live in Eagle, everyone probably knows what that is, especially in the states like California, Colorado, and even Washington. Eagle has really spread like wildfire because it is such a cool neighborhood to live in. And with all of that comes some trade-offs. Like all the farmland is being turned into communities or commercial space or being eaten up because they have to expand these roads. So Eagle is not a rural town feeling anymore, and it is a lot of higher end businesses who are coming in to match the lifestyle of Eagle. So if you are looking for somewhere that's very upscale, your average home price is probably around 800, which we'll get into, but it is somewhere that's turning into this higher end little development town. It's not that true old classic hoedown Idaho town like it once was with a bunch of farmers in it. So now let's talk about the real cost of living in Eagle, Idaho. While some think, oh, it's Idaho, everything is probably cheaper, that's not really the case anymore. For example, Dry Creek Ranch at one point, their homes started at $500, now they start close to $900. home prices have really taken off in the area. It just depends on where you're moving from if you think this is a good deal or not a good deal for these homes. For example, my wife who lived in San Diego, the homes here provide so much more value and are way cheaper than the homes in San Diego. But if you're moving from a place like Spokane, the homes down in Eagle are going to be quite a bit more expensive than the homes in Spokane. And the entry price to neighborhoods has really just climbed in all of Eagle. These master plan communities, maybe 5 years ago, that started at 700,000, even maybe 5, are now close to $1 million. And a lot of these neighborhoods now have HOA fees and CC&Rs, plus you gotta add in the fire insurance depending on your neighborhood, which can add up incredibly quick. You might be paying an extra $1,000 to $1,200 just a month in those fees, which dramatically changes your home payment. For example, the HOA in the ranch is $6,500 to $8,000 a year. You do get an absolute ton in return, however, but that is still a decent amount, especially if you're moving here to retire. Your HOA dues are $8,000 a year. That could be the swaying point for some. And the average home price in Eagle is around $780,000 to, depending on the month you look at it, because it is a seasonal market, which is good to know, but it can climb up to $880,000 with recent data and other trending, speculating that it's going to be hit $1 million by 2027, give or take, just with all the demand coming in to Eagle, which is pretty crazy to think about. The other thing that surprises people about the housing in Eagle is how uncommon it can be to find a home on true acreage. Yes, there are those acre lots that new developers and builders have, but if you want a home where you really have no one around you, you're on true acreage, it's pretty hard to find. Because most think Idaho, you think, oh, it's acreage, homes on these huge lots, kind of tucked in the trees, you can't see each other, or at least up in the foothills, but that's really not the case anymore. And if the home is on an acre or more, it's likely going to be well above 1.1 million just due to demand and that there really aren't as many as people think they are. And just know that 90% of homes in Eagle especially are going to have an HOA and CC&Rs, which most people are surprised by because you think Idaho freedom, not Idaho HOA and CC&Rs. But in Eagle, because they're all these master plan new development communities, they all are going to have your HOA and CC&Rs. And one thing I do not want to happen to you is for you to stretch and push your budget to live in Eagle and then end up house broke or using a higher percentage of your retirement than you plan to, just so you can afford the house payment. I've actually seen this quite a bit where you're either retiring here, you say, you know what, I really want Eagle, we're gonna pull a little more out to live in this home, and most of the time it ends up biting you in the butt later down the road, or you just become house broke and you can't actually do anything in the area that you want to do because you're spending all the money on your house. So please do your research on housing prices and make sure you have a realistic plan and a budget, and please just don't stretch yourself. It's not worth it. Eagle is a terrific place to live, but same with Meridian and Start and Boise, there are great pockets. So just know though that Eagle does come with a higher price tag than anywhere else in the Treasure Valley. Next up is the weather no one warned you about. While I love the 4 seasons and for the most part the weather here, there are some things that you need to know about. The main thing is the inversions that happen in the winter, and recently we just went through an incredibly long one. So what happens is the cold air gets stuck beneath a stagnant layer of warm air. So when the warm air swept over the region, the cold air becomes trapped down below and it just sits there. I believe this one started January 10th, give or take, and it finally cleared yesterday. But pretty much the air quality will go up to anywhere from like 70 to 110, and it's just gray and cloudy out. And a little fog, little pockets will come in because all the smog from cars get stuck underneath. And it's really just all the pollution can't get out of the valley. They are very, very annoying, but really just that. They're just annoying. You probably won't notice the air quality. Most people don't unless you check your phone every day and be like, oh, air quality is at 90 today. Most of the time you won't even be able to tell. But it is something annoying. And then in the summer, our air quality can also be bad, driven by wildfire smoke from Washington, Oregon, or California fires, which again, when depending on which way it blows, will blow all the smoke from these fires over the valley, and then it tends just to sit on the valley. And in recent years, we've actually had quite a bit of fires up in Donnelly area, which is like the McCall up in the mountains. And even by Avonmore had a pretty big fire a couple years ago, which caused the air quality in our area to be horrific. So just know that air quality in the winter and summer, it can be affected. The other thing I want to point out is our summers are a lot hotter than people think. And it actually took me by surprise. I remember going down there in high school for the ODP soccer and playing in the summer, and I was dying down there in the summer. Granted, it is a dry heat, which is way better than humid heat, but it does kind of surprise you with how hot our summers can be. Pro is that it will always cool down at night, and in the mornings it really hits its peak around 5 in the evening. So if you do want to get out, just get out in the mornings before 10 and you really will be fine. The other pro to all this is all these things are really just pains, right? Life doesn't stop, no one freaks out. We don't have tornadoes, blizzards, hurricanes, or earthquakes. And what's going on in the rest of the country right now with the snowstorm coming in, we won't experience any of that. Because if we do get snow, they will just plow the roads, prepare for it. People won't freak out. Well, hopefully people don't freak out anymore. I know a lot of people moved here aren't used to winter, but usually, and what I've seen, people don't usually freak out from the snow. It's just every other day. The work doesn't stop. You'll still get up. Schools will still happen. Worst case, a 2-hour delay while they plow. But life just goes on with our weather. It really is a huge pro to the area. But those are the honest cons of the weather for our area. Next up is the expectation versus reality about retiring in Eagle. So I talked to a lot of people thinking of retiring here, and the ones who do end up moving here are moving here for the lifestyle and for the Idaho values, not because it's cheaper. Those who think they want to move to Idaho because they can save a lot of money and because it is cheaper, boy are they surprised to learn that it's really not much cheaper than where they're living now, and even if it is, it's not by the amount they thought it was. There are a lot of pros of retiring in Idaho, don't get me wrong. It's just not as many as people think. They think, you know what, if I'm hypothetically spending $100,000 to live in California, when I move to Idaho, I'll be spending 50, if not 60. That's really not the case. And then you add in the moving costs and all the time it takes you to sell your home and to buy a new one here. It really is just not that much cheaper. Again, there are a lot of pros of it. I just see people retiring here for the wrong reasons, and that is one of the things I really want to let you know is do not move here just because it's cheaper. Move here because of the lifestyle, the political reasons, maybe the policies, whatever that's going to be, but just make sure you're moving for the right reasons. The other con of retiring in Idaho, especially the Boise area, well, really just the whole state for that matter, which people really don't think about, is we don't have a lot of specialist doctors. Luckily for Boise, Utah is 4 hours away, so you'll probably have to go over there for all your special appointments. I know quite a bit of people who you need those specialized doctors that they're just not in the Boise area. Hopefully we will be getting them soon, but as of now we don't have them, so you will have to go down to Utah for that. But again, it's a 4-hour drive or a pretty easy flight. If you do want to learn more about retiring to Eagle, Idaho, I do have a video planned for that, so make sure you check that one out as well. So when I was showing someone homes in Eagle, they kept saying with how surprised they were about how upscale luxury it feels. It's not this old, true, classic Idaho feel anymore. A lot of people are comparing Eagle now to places like Orange County or even the upper side of Denver that's been all revamped. You want that true Idaho rural feel, you're probably going to have to go out to a place like Middleton or even look in Rathdrum up in North Idaho. But the Treasure Valley, with how much growth it's seen, it's getting harder and harder to find those old classic Idaho rural feel towns. It's just with the growth, those towns are fading pretty fast down here. However, you can head up into the mountains to Donnelly and McCall. Some of those towns up there still have that Idaho feel. North Idaho, I would argue, still has more towns. If you really want that Idaho classic rural feel, North Idaho will probably be your spot. And Eagle, Idaho is absolutely beautiful. You do have the foothills. You have the Boise River running right through it. You can either live up in the foothills or you can live tucked on your trees. You can live tucked in your trees on a little pond/lake. A lot of people do call them lakes here. I will argue that they're ponds. It's groundwater that is coming up that's causing them. Some of them are man-made, some of them are not. However, we call them lakes, so you just kind of get along with it. I will refer to them as lakes, but between me and you, they're just ponds. But they are beautiful to live on, especially if you live on one of those surrounded by the trees. It is really, really beautiful. But while it's beautiful, Eagle is lacking some amenities. I will say the amenities are coming fast. The Lifetime Fitness Center is building an amazing gym, which I'm pumped for. There's even a Costco coming into Eagle, so now we don't have to drive the 12 minutes into Meridian. While we have those things, we still don't have the high-end shopping centers, and we don't have unlimited options for things. There is the Village at Meridian, which is bringing in some great options, but it's nothing compared to malls in San Diego or Seattle. Eagle has some great restaurants, but we don't have an abundance of great restaurants. I remember talking to someone who was like, well, what are your 10 favorite restaurants? And I was like, well, I can name the 12 restaurants in Eagle, Idaho, but that's really all we have. There's not going to be an abundance of options. We have a Home Depot. So while we have the Home Depot, we don't have the Lowe's, the Harbor Freight, and all of those in Eagle. Well, we might have one other option. We're not going to have the abundance of options. So remember, Eagle is still a town of 30,000 people. So some moving here are very underwhelmed with how much Eagle actually offers in amenities and how big it is. It's still a 30,000 people town. It's still small. It's just not rural anymore. So if you are someone who wants to move to the Treasure Valley area, but you want more amenities and you want a little more hustle and bustle in your life, then Boise or Meridian will be a great place for you. And you can watch all my videos on those down below to make sure if Eagle's the place, maybe it is Boise, maybe it is Meridian. But just know that Eagle itself is not a hustling, bustling city, and we don't have a lot of options for things to do, especially when it comes to amenities. I hope this video helped you learn something about Eagle, and it gave you more insight to learn if Eagle, Idaho is actually a good fit for you. Like I mentioned, my wife and I lived in North Idaho for 10 years, and once we had kids, we quickly learned that it was time to move. As much as we did love it in North Idaho, we wanted to raise our kids somewhere else. And we did look at some few other areas, but for what was on our checklist, Eagle checked every single box pretty easily, so it was kind of a no-brainer for us to move to Eagle. Like I said, I've been coming down this way since I was in middle school, so I knew the area pretty well. I almost did my undergrad and graduate program at Boise State and ended up doing them at Gonzaga instead. So I at least knew the area, and for what my wife was describing, I was like, you know what, that's Eagle, Idaho. And we moved down here and we absolutely love it. Living in Eagle really does have so many pros, and the cons are very minimal in my opinion, but they still are cons. And because they're minimal in my opinion, they might be huge in your opinion. I have definitely showed a lot of people homes who think they want to move here. They get here and they decide this is not for them. So if you are thinking about making the move to Eagle, I would love to help you. My goal is to make sure you find a neighborhood that fits you best and you have a smooth move here. Thank you for watching, and I hope to show you some homes soon.